Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am so excited to be here for a couple of reasons. Besides, obviously, it being Wednesday night and primetime gaming. But, folks, we have a breaking story. Apparently, streaming your games via the cloud is now cool. Thanks to the PlayStation Portal, where you don't need a PlayStation 5. I'm gonna get into that. That is big numbers. I see some people running with banners. The big PlayStation W banners. Don't run with that. It's great that you can buy this device for $200, but you also got to pay 100 and something dollars for a year or whatever it is they charge monthly for access to premium. We're going to get into all of that. But again, it's the copy and paste PlayStation, ladies and gentlemen. They just do what they do best. They literally look over at Xbox's homework and say, "Yeah, we're going to do what we're doing. We'll let them get the arrows, and then we're going to do it." But that's not the only topic we're going to get into, because I get the pleasure, the honor, if you would, to work with both Hargeet and Kayasante every Wednesday. I do want to revisit this Kepler next generation Xbox report, because he is claiming that this next Xbox is 4 times more powerful than the PlayStation. We've heard conversations about the die size being the biggest in home console history. This is going to be a hybrid device. I have some thoughts and theories as to, you know what, I'm actually going to save them. But listen, Hargeet, what's up, brother? How you feeling, man? Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Been playing Outer Worlds too.
Yeah, we're gonna talk for a few minutes about that,
like
because
10 minutes ago.
I literally was almost late for the show. Like, I looked over and it was like 6:50. I'm like, oh my god, I'm late for the show, and I'm running. Yeah, I'm a few hours away from clocking in 5 days worth of play.
Oh my goodness.
Yes,
I'm
5
nowhere
days.
then, right? I think I've done like one
And
day so far, and
okay,
like,
all right.
and I keep finding more things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is never gonna end.
Well, I'm in my second. I beat it after 75 hours. Now I'm in my second
Oh my
second
goodness.
playthrough.
So
Yeah,
I've
so
got quite a few things to do, huh?
oh yeah, yes. And it's this one I'm struggling a little bit, and we're gonna get into why I'm struggling, folks. Difficulty same as it was, but I did some things. I picked some things I probably shouldn't have picked, and now I'm paying for it. It kind of gives me um the feeling of when my first playthrough of Oblivion, where I got the vampire curse and I couldn't go out during the day, and I couldn't get rid of it. It's not that bad, but it's getting there. We'll get into it though. Hey, Kayasante, how you feeling, kind sir? Welcome back.
Good evening, all. I too am also playing the Outer Worlds too, and I always have to be careful not saying Outer Wilds, because there'll be like 5 people in the chat with pitchforks coming at me. I know you
They'll
love
call
that
for
game.
you.
You're not gonna
They
come after
will.
me.
They're
I know.
sharp
I
like that.
understand they will. Yeah, Aaron from Sweden, he's gonna come after me. My bad. Anyway, no, I too have been playing the Outer Worlds too. It is phenomenal, phenomenal,
Yeah.
phenomenal. I'm just like in awe of what we're playing here, and I like, before we let's just continue on, but I just leave it to the public. Are you really sure you're secure on what your game of the year is? Because I'm not sure now. I'm not sure.
I had Avowed as my game of the year. I played Donkey Kong. That's up there as well. Probably in my top 5 for sure. There are a few others. This has exploded on the scene. So, real quick, shout out to Iman Burns in the chat as well, always being here. And Yudin asks, Boom, did you take the jack of all trades floor? So here's the thing, folks. I'm having some trouble. Here's what I'm dealing with. So I don't know, because when you beat the game originally, right? Like, I'm playing Renegade now, so I'm a bit of an asshole, which I'm quite shocked. I don't like being, but I figured, you know what? I was Mr. Johnny Good Cop, and I saved everybody, and I barely pulled out the gun to end anything. This time I'm doing things a little bit different, because I want to see the outcome. I want to see different, whatever. I must have did the button press on something too quick. So here's my problem. I cannot deny any floor perks at all. The ability to press B to say no has been blocked out. So I am apparent now. I think I'm up to like a bad trait 11 or something. And one of the traits that I have, folks, and this is not really spoiler, you'll find it yourself. Apparently, I have a spending problem. So 75% of any monies I have on me goes into an untouchable savings that the robot holds, and it won't unlock until I hit level 30. It's like almost like real life. So some of the bad perk traits are like, I just had one where if my party goes down, I cannot revive them. But if one is left standing, they get like bonuses for the one left standing. But if they're both down, I just have to handle the business myself. And there's a lot of really bad perks, flaws as you will. But I'm having a blast. I am just about to clock in my 5th day worth of play. It's all I want to do, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. How I know this game has me is I was up until almost 3 o'clock in the morning yesterday playing because I was like, I stop play for an hour, and whatever. It's never an hour, ladies and gentlemen. It's just never an hour. You know what? Before we get into the big topics, let's go around the room here, folks. And of course, shout out to the chat. Let us. Yeah, see, there's the flawed floor, the flawed floor. Yeah, it's flawed. All right, Hargeet, how are you enjoying the Outer Worlds 2?
Yeah, it's fun. I like their kind of games, right? So the Obsidian type of formula is pretty good for me. So I liked Avowed a lot, and so far I'm really liking this as well. So Outer Worlds 1 was great. This is even better.
Yeah.
So
I mean, what do you think of the shooting? Because like for me, like the gunplay right off the bat is
better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember the shooting from Outer Worlds just because it's been a while, but yeah, I mean it's fun to play. I don't know. I'm enjoying it. So far so good. But yeah.
The humor again. If you're an Obsidian,
yeah, I do like the humor.
The humor is funny. Like it's honestly, it's just. It's funny. There are. I keep telling this. Actually, I think who was it that talked about it? It might have been Jamie Murray. Yeah, it was Jamie yesterday that talked about, you missing the double jump mission because there are these special boots that you can find, and you can miss this.
I thought you had to get them.
No,
apparently
you
not.
don't. No, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You can skip over them, just like you could skip over a party member. Like if you don't go to a certain location, you don't get that party member. If you just like whatever, I'm going to go A, B to C to D just to beat it, you're going to miss out. Like I just got, and again, one of the issues is the achievements weren't popping. None of my achievements popped in my first run, which is fine. Again, I'm playing it a second time. They're all starting to pop now. But I just think that this is so just a classic Obsidian joint. That's just the best thing I can say about it. But I know, but I see people Atticus talking about Arc Raiders. Yeah, it's funny. A couple of YouTubers I listen to, Josh from Den of Nerds, he is mad addicted to that. I know that Fuzzy Belvedere and a few of the guys from one of our DMs are playing it. Pong Soul is in love with it. It looks dope. It's just I don't want to play anything but the Outer Worlds, which is why I haven't changed my background because I just really like it. But Que Sante, let's before we get into the topics, because again, the first one's going to be a little bit slanderous, if you will, because again, the copy and paste PlayStation, that's just what they do. We're going to get into what they're offering, when it was announced, what people can expect, and whether or not you actually need a PlayStation 5. And well, apparently you don't, but you also need a subscription service, which I don't think that's really being talked about. But let's get your thoughts on the Outer Worlds 2. How much fun are you having with this thing, dude?
Honestly, so first off, shout out to Xbox. I did receive a code for it, a little
very nice,
a small window ahead of time, so I got a chance to get my feet wet. As we speak right now, I'm 1 day, 16 hours, and 20 something minutes into this game.
Nice.
which isn't much by comparison. Some folks are in there for life.
It's almost 40 hours. That's
I've only been in there for a couple of days. It's fine. It's about it's about a day. It's okay. But no, I really honestly I think this is a game that everyone needs to play. I think that if you've played the first one, you need to do yourself a favor and put this on your list really high because it's actually pretty excellent. And I actually think that you could make a case to play the first one before you play the second one because it adds a lot more to your experience if the story matters to you. Because there's just so much nuance in the story, so much back and forth in the story. And a lot of it started in that first one. Companies buying each other, corporate espionage. There's a lot of stuff going on there. And it all started in the Spacer's Choice DLC in the first one, right? So as you go on, it's not to say that you can't play it if you haven't played the first one, but it adds a lot of good, healthy color if you've played that first one. And that first one was smaller in scope in every way, so you can get that underfoot. You can beat that game relatively quickly. It's not that long of a game, but like the pluses here are you will love what's there, and they have elevated considerably since then. As Hargeet is saying, gunplay, the like just the world building, the storytelling. Like not everybody loved Avowed like that, but it was agreed upon that one of the strong suits of Avowed was its diverse world and its diverse biomes and all the interesting things that were in it. Yeah, they literally took that lesson and they put it into this game because this has such diverse biomes. Beautifully well crafted diverse biomes. I was talking to a buddy of mine on Discord, and he was saying how and he's true. I find that to be very true. One of these a recent Ally X purchaser on that handheld, it runs so darn well, like just unusually well. Obviously, it was optimized for that handheld, right? But that art style lends itself so well to this game that you can get it to look righteous, really beautiful on a handheld on a 7-inch screen. You tweak it right, it's running really good. And then you switch over to a 4090 and it doesn't make any more difference. It's kind of like timeless. You don't get any exponential return. It just really, really classically looks good on the screen on the places that it is. So I expect that it will last a long time. Finally, the reason why I think everyone should play it is I suspect that not two people's experience will be the same writ large throughout this experience. I'm talking to Lucius, who's been on this show before. That dude spent the first 10 hours or so not talking to a single NPC, just exploring the land and unlocking everything. And then after 10 hours, he started his first mission. And in so doing, he broke a lot of the games because he got access to things he didn't get access to in the storytelling. He went backwards in everything, trying to break the game. And it's so interesting how that game still resiliently bounces back to kind of keep the story going. It's super awesome. People need to play more of it. It's very, very cool. Very cool.
I mean, there's no real wrong way to play this game. Again, I said it yesterday jokingly. I was like, I'm not going to tell you to play the game. I'm going to demand that you play this game. And, you obviously look, I'll say this.
That's kind of how I play it too, is like KSOD is like, I want to, like, if they tell me to go that direction, I go that direction. Because I want to go find everything else first.
So early in the game, and it's not a spoiler, early in the game, you find that there's a bridge that you need to cross, right? And there are a bunch of like companion and other missions that basically are dependent on you crossing that bridge. But there's a story, so you have to go through that story mission in order to get past that point so they'll be able to do all the others. Some people are able to find ways around it without talking to a damn person. Other people walked into the room before they even opened their mouth. They judge dreaded everybody, just smoking everybody like a crater in the hole, and then did that. And somehow the game continues to like resiliently move forward.
It's pretty good.
And all the cascading effects. It is very, very interesting.
You know something that's funny? What you're talking about, there's a back door.
Yes.
To get in
there.
That's how I got, because this bridge is up, and there are a multitude of ways to take this bridge. You can take it by force, you can take it by talking. There's another really wicked one that is like, oh my God, I'm not doing that. And I was like, I'm I'm going to see if I can find myself, go around. And
Mhm.
it was difficult because that part, I don't think I was leveled up enough to be there, but I held my own, and I somehow came through the back door. Pause. And you like that, right? And it changed the whole thing, right? But
Yep.
there's another way. You know what? Listen, we're not. There are no spoilers here. I'll put it to this way: I played the game. I'm on my second playthrough. I'm going to beat it probably by the weekend, and I'm going to probably play it again. Like I'm so in love with this game that I'm going to probably do a third playthrough, and that's insane. And I just can't wait, honestly. But that particular there's a bridge just off the top of my head. There are 5 different ways, at least, that I could recall that I did differently, and there's just
Yeah.
different ways you could do it. There's just way different ways. It's no, Dion. He says, "Are y'all talking about Cyberpunk?" No, we're talking about the Outer
Outer
Worlds
Worlds 2.
2,
Yeah.
but we're trying to be
It,
very
it
vague.
it does have cyberpunk levels of tentacled like ways of handling things. It's at that level. I would say Cyberpunk is probably the last time you got a story that was also as very intricate where you could do
Yes.
one task like 15 different ways. This is the same thing with
It
Outer Worlds.
is just it's honestly brilliant. You know what I'm saying? Like I know that there's been a lot of like negativity towards it, and I think it's a lot of forced negativity. To be honest with you, I think people are just being angry and mean to just be angry and mean. Listen, it's all about games, folks. I don't care where you play, and we don't care here. If you're a PlayStation guy, gal, you're welcome. If you're a Nintendo, welcome. If you're an Xbox, you're welcome here. It's just we just here to talk about and get excited about playing games. And right now, most of us and a lot of people in the chat here are just really, really excited. That's a Brian Smith in it. That's a really good call out. Brian Smith in the chat says BioShock is what it reminds him of. That's a really good call out. It does have some BioShock esque storytelling. There are some twists for sure.
Yep.
Your companions matter. You're
Yep.
talking to them matters.
So I'll say this, Boom, real quick. I was on the GCP talking about the first opening, like literally the first opening before you see the Outer Worlds 2 on the scroll screen in the beginning of the screen. That first opening literally screams Mass Effect, right?
It really
I said that on my
does.
show, right?
Yeah,
I said
it
on my show,
does.
and one of the folks contributors to the show was like, "Oh yeah, we don't listen to Asante. He's about hyperbolic. He'll say that, no big deal." And then of course, a day later, he plays it himself, and he's like, "Oh my god, the Mass Effect feels." I'm like, "You sons of."
You son of a beep beep beep. Yeah.
You see what happened? Yeah, this is what's happening right now. There are a lot. You
Speaking
can
of, like,
tell where they pulled a lot of their homework from. A lot of great inspiration. It's very good, very good.
Speaking
Again,
of like the opening, right? When you like start
Mhm.
up and they have like the moon character there, the
Yeah.
dialogue that he has
it's hilarious, dude.
It's wild.
It is wild. Yeah. And it's funny because he'll say something very specific to the edition that you have.
Yeah.
And it's so off the cuff and straightforward to the point that you're like, oh, is he insulting me or what is happening?
Hilarious.
It's good. It is good. Shout out to Solar Tech in the chat. What's up, brother? Nice to see you here. BT Maverick as well. 707. Welcome. Yeah, I mean, listen, folks. Look. You don't have to play the game. The best compliment I continue to give this game is if you like the first one, you're gonna love the second because there are so many improvements, quality of life stuff, left, right, and center. It's just really well done. But from a storytelling perspective and a storytelling perspective that has meaning and stuff that you do matters. It matters to the story at hand, but it also matters to your crew. And it's so well done. They really took everything that was great about Fallout New Vegas and they just stuffed it in here. It is as close to a New Vegas you could possibly get. Again, it's just absolutely brilliant. I really think, and again, this is one of those times where if you didn't have an Expedition 33 and so many other amazing RPGs, this could run the gambit. It's gorgeous. The music is great. The voice acting was phenomenal. Again, high marks for the gunplay. I mean, again, it may not be your game of the year, but it's certainly looking like it might be mine. And I can't remember the last time I finished a game and it was like, okay, this is good. I'm gonna play some other ones, and then was thinking about the Outer Worlds while I was playing the game, other games, and I'm like, I see people, because remember I had it 2 weeks early, thanks to Obsidian and Microsoft, so I wound up getting it for review early, and before it even got to early preview, I had beaten it, and then I started seeing people like Nico Muller posting, and Jamie Moran posting thing. I'm like, oh my god, I got to play this game again, and I started playing it again, and it's just, I have not shut it off. It's just crazy. It's just so crazy good. And the mods that some of the weapons, and that's the thing, almost immediately I found things I didn't do in my first playthrough, especially some of the side quests. I'm like, whoa, where did this come from? Are you kidding me? How did I miss this? So, yep, give it a shot. If you don't, I'll put it this way: if you like role-playing games, you like Mass Effect, you like Fallout New Vegas, you like Fallout, you like Obsidian games, you liked Oblivion. Someone in the chat earlier said, had a little bit of BioShock in there. It's well done. But listen, gentlemen, we got to get into this PlayStation news. Now, this is actually really cool news. It really is. No one's trying to slander what Sony is doing, but the truth of the matter is that the community at hand is hilarious. Their community that has been downplaying what Xbox is doing with cloud gaming. They just did the big upgrade, 1440p, 60 frames per second. Most people have used it. I've used it. My nephew has used it. It's worked great. We have pretty decent internet, so I've never had it shit out on me or anything. And what's interesting, Hargeet, is what happened today. Now, PlayStation, this was originally, broken as a rumor, but PlayStation themselves, along with all the big publications, broke the news that cloud streaming officially arrives on PlayStation Portal today. Now, PlayStation Portal is a $200 device. It does stream your games from your console, but now it can't play your games from the cloud. And these games are the games that you own, which is cool, right? Obviously, if you own a game and you want to stream it, you can do that. You have to have good internet for sure, of course. But they are pushing this, Hargeet, as you not needing a PlayStation 5. Like, you don't need a console. You can simply buy the Portal for $200. But a lot of the nuance for this is that you have to pay for the premium subscription, which is upwards of $180 a year. Now, again, you don't own these games. You're playing them off a library. That's great. It's a much cheaper device, but it's a device that doesn't do much but stream. I own one. I have one. It's great. I play Vampire Survivors on it all the time. Now I don't use it as much because now I have the ROG Xbox Ally X, so it's kind of just sitting in its case. I might even get rid of it at this point because I don't play my regular PlayStation. I'm not going to play the Portal. But according to the presser, PS Plus Premium members can now stream select digital PlayStation 5 games in their library, in addition to hundreds of compatible games from the game catalog and classics catalog. And of course, this is directly from the PlayStation blog. And I want to read a little bit of it. Let me read some of the presser here. It says that PlayStation, we're always working to push the boundaries of how players experience our games. And since the PlayStation Portal Remote first launched back in November of 2023, we've continued to evolve the device with updates like enhanced public Wi-Fi support and UX improvements. Last year, we also introduced the cloud streaming beta, which allowed PlayStation Plus premium members to access select PlayStation 5 games from the PS Plus game catalog, as well as the Classics catalog via cloud streaming, without needing to connect to a PlayStation 5 console through remote play. Today, we're excited to share that PlayStation Portal is receiving one of its biggest updates yet. Starting on November 6th at November 5th at 6 p.m. And of course, that's Pacific time. Cloud streaming for the PS5 games officially launches on PlayStation Portal for PlayStation Plus premium members, along with a variety of new features that enhance how you can play. So, Hargeet, look, I think that if you are someone that has a Portal, if you're a PlayStation player, you have a PS5 and you have a Portal. I have both. I think that this is cool. I don't see any downside to it at all. Giving its players the ability to play on on this device that they paid for is brilliant. I really think it is. I think it is a very baby step, no pun intended, move forward for Sony. I still think that they are at least 5 to 10 steps behind Xbox. I really do. And again, second half of the show, folks, we're going to get into how much power one box is going to have versus what could be the PlayStation 6, which is going to come in potentially cheaper. I don't know how much cheaper, but a lot less powerful. I have some big thoughts on that. But you know what? I see a lot of the PlayStation, and again, not the PlayStation gamers, not the people that are the casuals that just want to play good games. No, I'm talking about the ponies. I'm talking about the people that go out of their way to shit on other people's, fun, and that's just what they do. They're trolls. And they're running around with these big W banners about how this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I cannot wait for a Digital Foundry article to praise this, because all of some of these publications have done in the last couple of weeks is dunked on Xbox. And this is one of those copy and paste moments. Like, honestly, it's literally PlayStation copying Xbox's homework, and it's being championed. Like I said, I didn't have a chance to go look to see if VGT or IGN or any of the big publications that are Sony rah-rah, places have been out there banging the drum for this thing. I think it's a great first step, but I still think Sony is way behind. I want to get your thoughts on this. Again, it really is seeing Sony just copy Xbox's homework.
Yeah, I mean, look, we already heard about this before, right? So it's finally just coming to fruition. By the way, the other thing is you don't need the Portal since you have the ROG. You can also just stream PlayStation games to your ROG.
Yes. Yep.
So that streaming is available. You can also just buy them on Steam and use, play them locally. But the streaming is available to PC players. So, as we see with pretty much everything Xbox does, PlayStation copies it like a few years later, right?
Yep.
It's not like a big mystery that's happening. The only thing they haven't copied yet is day and date games into a subscription service, which, I mean, they're dabbling by putting in third-party day and dates, but eventually maybe they'll get to that point. And they'll have actual competition for Game Pass Ultimate, which there isn't one right now, but it'd be interesting to see if they go down that path as well. The problem is content, right? You have to have content to make that compelling. PlayStation, unfortunately, they don't have the content, not to the level of their two main competitors in Xbox and Nintendo. But as far as like them doing the streaming thing, well, I mean, they started that, right? They were the ones who went and started this before Xbox did xCloud, right? They had it already. They just hadn't really pushed it forward enough. It was really just for PS3 games, and they eventually, enabled more and more and more. So they're basically just doing exactly what Xbox is. And the reason is simple. barrier of entry. If you can eliminate the barrier of entry, more players get to play. One of the things that, as privileged gamers, I'll just say that we can buy hardware. We have the excess money.
Yeah.
There are so many people on the planet who, for them, even a couple of $100 is a lot of money. For them to buy a $500 console, $1,000 thing, that's like way out of the realm of possibility. Right? And to buy $100 games and all that, way out of the realm of possibility. They just don't have that option. So what they do is they watch others play. And and so it turns out, if you can offer them even a absolutely terrible performance option with cloud, that's like something magical to them, because they don't have it. They don't have it, right? And they're like, oh, I can actually play that and not just watch it, right? So for that user, being able to say, even I can play it on this, they might have $100 phone, which to them, by the way, is a huge luxury. But like, I can play games on this. That's a huge thing for them, right? And this is the thing, the barrier of entry. If you can reduce that barrier of entry, you've now expanded your potential user base, right? And that's what they're looking for, engagement, right? And so it makes sense for everybody, right? It's just there's a lot of like the old style, old mindset, console warriors that say, I need my plastic box here. Only my plastic box can do this. And those companies are saying, how do I get money from more people? They don't care. They don't care about the stupid console war. They care about, how do I extract more value from my customer? That's it. They want more people paying them. And they're like, how do I do? So cloud is certainly an obvious way to get it for people who just cannot afford to buy a box, right? And, my original thought was like, the performance is going to suck because I'm looking at my performance. I'm looking at my gaming, right? And for me, I'm not a cloud customer. I don't care. I don't want it, right? But like, if you've never had the opportunity ever, and you can say, hey, you know what? I get to save up maybe once a year. I can pay this subscription and I can play games. Like, for that person, that's a magical moment that they never had. And you're like, okay, that totally changes the equation. It may not be the greatest thing for the company giving it to them, but for that player, you just got to think about how unbelievably awesome that is for that person, right? Imagine being like, the 12-year-old child where your parents can give you this for 1 month, just 1 month, like the Christmas month or whatever it is, right? Here you go. You can just play games. Like, and for them, they're like, the lighting up that will happen, like, I can play games. Holy crap, right? It's a different world. And we don't think about it that way because we're privileged. And that's just the way it is. We are. We don't realize it. All of us in the chat, we all play games. We are privileged. Billions don't have it. They don't have it. Okay. And for them, they're like, I can do that. I don't have to just watch somebody else play. That's a huge thing. Right. And so this is a cool thing for them to do as well. For PlayStation to say, hey, our games, you can play them. That's cool. Right. And they're not at the same level as Xbox as far as our entire library available to you. Right. Fair enough. But some of it is. Right. And those magical moments exist. You can play their games. And that's a magical thing for some player out there who just doesn't have the access. So this is awesome. PS Portal still a pretty cheap device.
$400, man. It's not bad.
If they can afford that, why not? Right. And again, we can look at it from like a performance of cloud and all that. For some player, that's like the best they can do. It's like, you know what? Why not? We should invite.
No, honestly, Hargeet, it's a really solid device. The screen is gorgeous. So if you put something on there like The Last of Us, you're gonna be impressed. You put something like Astrobot on there, it's an impressive little handheld. It's limited to what it does.
Yeah, so cool. And like, so if that device is available to somebody, if they're able to even afford that, like, great, right? So why not let them have that and let them stream? If it's of ease of use for somebody who wants to do it here, fair enough, right? Go for it. And again, you can use any one of your portables that you already have and play these games via the PC app that PS Plus Premium, they have that, so you can just access it that way as well. But again, with PC, obviously you can also buy the games. However, if all you want to do is just stream them with the subscription cost, fair enough, right? Go for it. So pretty cool option. We'll see how they keep expanding it. As usual, though, it does seem like the cookbook of Xbox just seems to keep getting copied over onto the PlayStation side. Yeah, whatever. I guess if it's working, why not, right? You have to look at the Microsoft side and say, well, they're making money. They're actually making a lot of profits. You saw their targets 30%, and you look at like the last fiscal year of PlayStation was 12%, right? And that's a step up from where they were before when Hiroki came in and said, what are you guys doing? And started hacking and slashing and saying, we're cutting this, we're cutting that, we're cutting this, bye, Jim. So like that was, I think it was like 8% at that time. They've brought it back up by cutting a lot. They want to go further, obviously, right? And so this is a way to get more engagement, is let's get more players playing. So I can see more and more of this happening as they're seeing what Microsoft is doing and saying, oh, why the heck aren't we doing that? So, this is just going to keep happening. Nintendo, by the way, is crazy. They make like 20+% all the time. They're nuts. They make a lot of profit, but that's because their costs have been low in development, lots of sales. I don't know if that continues. We will see if they try to like expand their development time. It did take a long time for the next big Zelda game, the next big Mario, which actually turned out to be Donkey Kong Bonanza, right? Okay, that was a while from the original release of Mario Odyssey. I don't know how long it's going to be for the next games, so we will see. But I like the path that they're on. That's a good thing, right? And the more competition there is for these services, the better they will get from a consumer perspective, right? And that's what you want to see, right? More games, more availability, more scale. We'll see how they go with it, but yeah, it's a good step. And like we heard about this a while ago that they were going to do this, and now I guess it's just officially coming out. That's great. That's awesome. But it's more than just on the portal. It is already available on PC, which is great. But yeah, it's great to have that portal not be locked to you have to have a PlayStation. That's a good idea. It should have been that way to begin with. The next best thing would be open it to all the clouds. You have the portal. You want to use whatever you want to use. NVIDIA's GeForce Now. Go for it. Why lock it? Let it go and let people play whatever they want to. That allows them to have a device that allows them to play whatever they want from whomever they want. That's a much more open platform. But we will see if they go down that path. I think they will end up doing that. So, but we'll see, right? I think that's the better path. So just let it go. Let people buy your thing and then use it wherever they want to. However they want to consume, let them consume. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think it's a good step.
Yeah, obviously this is actually happened. There is a rumor that is floating around that a couple of the more prominent PlayStation content creators put out there that there's going to be some sort of a dual entitlement for PlayStation 5 games and PC.
Play anywhere,
play anywhere, which we got railroaded and continues to get railroaded. But we're not so much going to talk about that because that is a rumor, and the presentation that I saw looked fake, so I don't want to report on it. It didn't look good, honestly. The graphics looked like they were very grainy, so it looked like it was made in somebody's like iPhone or something and thrown out there. It again, it's probably happening. There's gonna, again, I don't know if it's gonna be called PlayStation Play Anywhere, but we know that Xbox is doing the Play Anywhere, and it was railroaded, and well, now Sony's doing the same thing. So we will see, if that gets any more traction. But the original story posted with graphics that just did not look real. So again, I don't want to spend much time, talking about it because I don't know if it's real. I know that there's some publications that, are talking about it in the rumor sense. Maybe it happens by the end of the week because obviously this is the portal news is cool. Like I said, if you have a PlayStation portal and you have been, this is actually one of the best updates for this handheld that they've had since the thing launched a couple of years ago. So this is a really big deal. I do think that Hargeet's onto something that if you are someone that can't afford a $6,000 or $1,000 handheld, and that does not even have to be the Xbox Ally or the X. It could be the MSI Claw. It could be the Lenovo. It could be any of them. These things are expensive. This is a great option it's a $200 device. Now, granted, you don't get the games by just buying the device. You actually have to have, you're going to be playing via the cloud, but you're going to have to get the premium service. It's actually kind of genius, to be honest with you, because what it ultimately does, Keosante, is get more people potentially to subscribe to the higher tier, because that's where this thing is available. Again, it's Sony making moves that Xbox has already done. We're going to continue to see this, folks. We really are. Whether that be cloud gaming, whether that be dual entitlements with PC, and which I think it's an automatic. Like if you buy the game on PlayStation 5 and you have a nice rig and you want to play that game, you already own the game. You should be able to play it. That's something that they're finally coming to the table with. But Mr. Handheld, Keosante, let's get your thoughts on this. You obviously do you have a Portal?
I'm holding a PS Portal in my palms, in my mitts. As
I was going to say, well, what are you holding in your palms? Hold on a sec. Pause.
No pause. No pause. Big pause. Big pause. Yes. No, I'm holding the PS Portal in my hands as we speak. I thought it was hilarious way back in the day when people were coming for Xbox, that basically it all amounted to the idea that Xbox said no console, no problem out loud, and PlayStation said no console, no problem, and they whispered it. And that was the only difference between the two, and everybody kept coming for Xbox, because if you have a PS Portal, man, it is the most no console, no problem experience that you can have. It's really fun. It's great. I was just playing Cyberpunk a minute ago. It is like they're meeting people where they are. Yep. They're meeting the needs. Now, what does that sound like? This is just me being petty and messy and reminding y'all that we've said it before, we'll say it again. Don't listen to what Sony tells you. Watch what Microsoft did maybe 2-3 years ago.
Yep.
That's what they'll do. We've said this over and over and over again. And this too falls right in line. But again, we're not doing that to be messy. I'm doing that to be messy. It's fine. I'll admit that. But I wouldn't say, this is a bad device or don't buy it. Like the PS Portal, it's a great device. Understand what you're getting, right? Yeah. Understand what you're getting. Make sure that you're going to be in locations where Wi-Fi is predominant, because without Wi-Fi, you're really not doing much, right? But besides that, when you're able to do it, the game plays great, man. The games play great. Yes, as Hargeet has said, you can really do this anywhere else you want. You can stick it on your phone and then use the backbone or some other controller. You can do it from your handheld already or whatever. But in the handheld, you'll need a third-party app for it to work. But the long and short of it is, this is probably the most turnkey, low-effort way to get in. And I would say, like during Black Friday, maybe it's $150. Yo, that at that point is stocking stuffer price, right? 100%. That's aggressive.
I actually think at $200, it's kind of like, I don't want to say
$200 today, after they're adding all these extra features, I will allow it. The reason why I won't give it the full credit that some others might give it is, this is still a ball and chain to a subscription tier. So the moment you stop paying your subscription service, like the minute, you can never get away from them with this device, right? You can never purchase what you purchased and then go off and do you. It'll always be a delivery mechanism for their subscription tier. So that is a little bit less than, right? But I'm sure eventually somebody will figure a way of making this thing more useful than it currently is. And then in which case I won't give them that much smoke. But that's the only reason why I can't say this is really, really excellent like that, because still at the end of the day, you're beholden to that subscription service. Without it, it's a paperweight, right? It's still just something you use to stream your console games. But honestly, the long story short of it, I honestly think it's a great device. I think that these moves that PlayStation are making is needed and great and useful. It exponentially like increases the value of the device. Right now, you're saying, Boom, that it's far more worth $200 than it was when it first came out. I can't disagree with that, right? Because they're adding more value to it. So to me, hey, if you see this thing on Black Friday, pick one up. It's a good deal. It's good for a family member or something. Sub $200. Don't even think about it. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's look, like I said, I'm happy to see it. Anyone that doesn't have one, I can assure you that if you did pick one up, it's a nice device. I own one. Mrs. Boom got it for me for Christmas last year. I mean, I've used it sparingly. I'm not going to say that I use it every day, but I have used it to a great degree, and I've had a lot of fun with it. The screen on there is very impressive, to be honest with you. And again, this update does bring it. First of all, at $200, depending on your usage, like I didn't use it as much as I probably should have, right? And one of the main reasons I didn't want to have to, I just thought it was dumb to have to turn on my PlayStation 5 to use this thing. Honestly, I'm like, I don't want to play it like that. You know what I'm saying? But this update, again, if this thing's $150 during Black Friday, it's Sony's going to win Black Friday again, because I don't know if they'll even be able to keep up with demand, because $150, and yes, your mileage is going to vary, ladies and gentlemen, on your cloud service. But if you get the device and you pay the 160, I think it's 160 or 170, whatever it is for the whole year, for the premium service, you're going to have a nice selection of PlayStation games, PlayStation 5 games, plus some of the classic stuff in there to use on the device. But Kay is right. Make no mistake, the minute you stop paying, well, ultimately you'll stop playing, because this thing becomes a paperweight. So, keep that in mind. You don't mind spending the $160 a year, which isn't bad, especially if you're not buying the $500, $600, $700 console, and you're getting the this portal, and all you're going to pay for is the ability to play these games via the cloud. It's actually not a bad deal. It really isn't. But it's just that you're starting to see ultimately how we started this conversation is Sony is doing what they've done more times than we can count, and that is just follow Xbox's lead. And what's interesting, and again, we have to wait to see how this plays out with some of the podcasters, especially the PlayStation community, and especially of games media, how they try to turn this, because again, every time Xbox has done something, they've gotten broadsided by the ridiculousness. And when Sony does something, it's like, oh, congratulations, Sony. This was a magnificent idea. And it's usually the same people that were, cowtailing or, making fun of Xbox doing new things. But look, if you have a portal and you didn't get much use of it, this is an opportunity to probably use it. Again, I'm not going to use it because, like Hargeet said, I have, like him and many people in the chat right now, I have an Xbox Ally X, so I'm playing everything there, and that's a device I've been using almost every other day, if not every day. I played the shit out of the Outer Worlds on it, and it ran magnificent. I played Keeper, I played Ninja Gaiden 4, a bunch of other things. The one thing I was a little disappointed, Double Dragon Revive is not play anywhere. So I couldn't play it on there, which kind of sucks. But other than that, that's fine. But listen, gentlemen, I'm going to catch up with the one super chat we got over here from our good friend Mac22 in the chat. He drops a very generous $10 super chat. He says, I can't wait to watch the first Digital Foundry video showing that you don't need a PlayStation 5 to play PlayStation games. Also, Boom, I'll be in the car holding my breath, waiting for that video, shaking my head. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm going to sit back on my perch and just watch and see how this is spun. We'll see. The regular media that you know and hate, or the media you love to hate, they're going to act a fool. We'll see how that plays out. But look, oh, wait a second here. We have Spartan661. Wow, brother, that is very kind of you. He has gifted 5 Double Barrel Gaming memberships. That is very kind of you, brother. Thank you so much for the outstanding support, Spartan, and appreciate you being here in the chat as well. So, like I said in the opening, I get the privilege of working with 2 men that understand tech better than I ever will, and that is Hargeet Chani and Kay Asante. And I have learned a lot from listening to them on other shows, but being able to work with them on a weekly basis, especially when we get into the tech talk, I get the chance to learn. And what we are learning and what we have heard for quite a while now is that the next Xbox or the next pair of Xboxes are going to be hybrid consoles. Now, one has already been tagged as a $1,200 device. I don't know where that happened. I don't know who said that. I know that Sarah Bond said it's going to be a premium curated device, but she never said $1,200. Someone did actually report that she said that. I don't know where the $1,200 came from. It's just a number that's floating in the air. Now, could it be $1,200? Sure, it absolutely could be. But I don't think it's going to be. I think it's probably going to be $1,000. And the reason why I think it's going to be that expensive is based on the information here from a AMD leaker known as Kepler. He is pretty well known in the games community. He has leaked many things before. And I do want to go over the stats that he had put out there, because according to Kepler, the next Xbox, and the chipset is known as Magnus, right? It's codenamed Magnus, is going to launch at 4 times more powerful than the PlayStation 6. Now, there's been some talk on the PlayStation side of things where this next device is going to be $500. Folks, whatever you're sniffing, stop it, because their next device is not okay. If the PlayStation 5 Pro is over $700, $750 right now, just a pinch under $800 after tax in 2025, what makes you think that the PlayStation 6, which is expected to be significantly more powerful than the Pro, cheaper? Like, I mean, like, let's just use common sense here, folks. All right. So ultimately, bringing, circling the wagons back to Xbox, we don't know how much this device is going to be. Now, I believe, Hargeet, that there are going to be 2 SKUs. We've heard about this. We've heard that there's going to be the big boy, which is what Sarah Bond was talking about. This high-end, it's going to be high fidelity. It's going to be a very expensive, curated device. Premium is the word that she used. Well, that's going to be for the people like me, you, Kay, and a lot of people in this chat. We're going to spend the big bucks on the big boy. I honestly believe there is going to be an entry-priced console. And I do believe that their next handheld, even though we're getting a preview with the Ally and the Ally X right now, I think it's going to be a dockable Switch-like device. Now, this is a rumor that's been floating around for quite some time. And I think that if you can bring in an S model that is, for anyone that does not want to spend $1,000 on the big boy, you're going to be able to play all your Steam games. You're going to be able to play all of your good old games, as well as, of course, all of your Epic Game Store, as well as all of your Xbox games on this entry price device. Now, how much is that? What does entry price mean? Well, I don't think it's going to be $500. It's probably going to be around $600, and it could be even $700. But if it's a cheaper way into this new hybrid, console/PC device, then it might be something that a lot of people jump on. Because again, ultimately, I think that with this device, not only is it going to play all your Steam games, all your Xbox games, it's going to play your PlayStation games as well. And we know that because there's a rumor, and this is where we segue into this, that PlayStation will be having their games in dual entitlement fashion. So if you own it on PlayStation, you're going to be able to play it on PC. And if you buy the games via Steam, you'll be able to play those PlayStation Studio games on these Xbox devices. But before I hand you the microphone, Hargeet, I want to read some of the the bullet points here from Kepler. He goes on to say that the architecture will reportedly use a combination of AMD's next generation Zen 6 CPU cores, as well as RDNA 5 with a UDNA graphics architecture. The design. Well, the APU will feature a chiplet design, which is a significant departure from the monolithic design rumored for the PlayStation 6. This modular approach is intended to allow for easier hardware upgrades in future console iterations. And this also, I think, is going to take place for a lot of the OEM devices that are going to come out right after this device. But here's where it gets interesting, Hargeet. The CPU, the processor is rumored to have a hybrid core configuration, potentially with 3 full Zen 6 cores and 8 powerful, efficient Zen 6 C cores. Now, the GPU on this thing is expected, according to Kepler, the graphics portion is expected to be large, with reports suggesting around 68 to 80 RDNA 5 UDNA compute units, or CUs. Kepler L2 has indicated, according to this report, that the UDNA or the RDNA 5 will also feature a significant generational leap in performance, including a 20% gain per CU and a 2-time improvement in ray tracing performance over the current RDNA 4. Now, the memory says here it's going to be anywhere between 36 gigabytes and 48 gigabytes of GDDR7, and that's going to be shipped on a 192-bit bus. Now, this is where it gets interesting, Hargeet. The die size apparently is going to be a really big deal. It says here, Magnus is projected to be the largest consumer console APU ever, around 408 millimeters, and due to its size, the chiplet design, it's expected to be more expensive to produce than its competitors, which would result in a higher console price point, potentially blurring the lines between a console and a high-end gaming PC. Look, this is the future, folks. But the question that a lot of people are going to be asking you, Hargeet, and of course, Kay Asante, when he gets the microphone, is whether or not this is something that can be subsidized. Now, we know we have heard that Microsoft and maybe even Sony are done with this, subsidizing loss on these consoles. And if you don't know what that means, ladies and gentlemen, whenever Xbox sells a console, they were taking upwards of $200 loss per console. And they've been doing this for decades. This is not new. They've always done it this way. And how they've made their money is through software sales. So they took the loss up front, but they got you into the ecosystem, and now you're buying all their games. Well, that's kind of changed a little bit, especially for Sony, because they're not putting out a lot of their own games anymore. Xbox, on the other hand, is putting out a ton of first-party games, but they also have a service that a lot of people are subscribed to, so they're not buying the games, they're paying for the service. Hargeet, let's get your thoughts on what Kepler L2 had to say about the next generation beast of a box.
So all these specs, by the way, is what we've already been hearing as far as the rumors. 4 times more performant is just absolutely ludicrous. That's not going to happen. To put that in perspective, if we take the PS6, my guess now, and it's been somewhat substantiated, 35 to 40-ish T-flops. If you multiply that by 4, 40 times 4, it's 140
T-flops. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's 160 if you have 40 T-flops.
Yeah.
The 5090 is 103. So there's no world in which this thing comes out at 160 T-flops. That's not happening. That's an insanity. I don't know where this stuff comes from, but it's stupid. It'll be slightly more performant, 20-25% more. Fine. That's realistic. The CU count is supposed to be in the like 40s to 50s range versus 60s to 70s range, right? That's kind of where we are on the two. That is not going to give you 4 times more performance. They're identical beyond that. Same Zen 6, same RDNA 5, same UDNA. UDNA, by the way, just mixes the AI components into the graphics components. So the unified versus a separate RDNA for the graphics engine and a separate chip for the AI part of it. They just combine the two of them. And so your NPU part is just built in. That's what UDNA is, right? So all this stuff is pretty much what we've already known. The chiplet design allows them to say, and this is not a field upgrade thing, right? It allows them to say, hey, we can have an iteration now where we upgrade this component and don't have to upgrade the rest of it, right? So we can just give you an updated with more CUs, or RDNA 6 comes out, we can give you that, right? So but that would be like a new iteration, say a mid-gen refresh type equivalent. But I would expect more iterations going forward on the Xbox side. It'll feel a lot more like PC, or like your phones that iterate every couple of years. You get new ones, right? It will just give you that option. You don't have to upgrade. You'll be fine where you are. You can if you want, right? And so it'll be a little bit different. Whereas PlayStation's kind of playing the old style game of here's a 7-year generation, right? So Xbox will allow you to say, hey, if you want to, here you go. So enjoy if you want to do it, no problem, right? So by decoupling a bit, they do allow you to kind of do that. But they're virtually identical, mostly as far as the specs. I don't think the memory is going to be that different between the two of them. I would expect them to pretty much be at probably 24 would be my guess. Even 36 seems like a lot. I don't know why they'd go that high. I can see 48 for a dev kit, right? Because they're going to double the memory of your normal. But I would think 24 is enough. Kay, I'd like to get your thoughts on it when your turn comes, but I don't think they're going to go that crazy. Like they're at 16 now. Really, they're going to go to 48? That's insane. So I think that's where they're going to be. 32, is possible, but I think 24 is reasonable. So I don't think that's going to be a difference. I think the majority of the components are going to be very much similar. 2 terabytes ish would be my guess. So I don't see them being that different. As far as cost, I think the APU part of it is going to be cheaper for the PlayStation 6 because it's got lower CUs. It's also an APU that's a bit more monolithic, the old style, the way they used to do it. And this is more of a chiplet design. So I think it's going to be a bit more expensive, but it's not going to be like, $500 more expensive. We're talking maybe like $50, $100 more expensive in that range. So the biggest cost is going to be the APU. But then there's other components that you just have to pay for. They will have to pay for a hard drive, right? Like the NVMe is going to, there's a cost for that storage. There's a cost for memory, but they're both going to be pretty close in costs there. The cooling, the motherboard, all that. I mean, it's going to be, again, very close in costs. So I don't see them being that departure as far as cost. I could see $100, maybe even $200 at most, as far as the delta between them. So this is why I don't expect it to be like this astronomical difference. So if the PS6 comes in at $700, expect the Xbox to be $800 or $900 in that range. I would expect that kind of delta. I don't expect it to be $1,200 unless you're saying the PS6 is $1,100. But who's buying a PS6 for $1,100? That's kind of the world we're in, though, right? And like, even $700 to me is tough to take for a PS6 when the PS5 Pro is $750. So you have to kind of get that $750 down. If that happens, I can see $700. But if that doesn't happen, it's very hard to justify that your PS5 Pro is more expensive than the PS6. It's just a weird world we're in, but that kind of becomes your kind of floor. 750 is your floor unless they can reduce that down. They have a couple of years that might happen. So that's where I think it is. I don't think this is going to be $1,200 just seems ludicrous. I don't know where that's coming from. And I don't think they're going to compensate by subsidizing. I don't think that's going to happen. If there's a subsidy, it would be like very, very, very minimal in the beginning until they can cut the costs down a bit to make it so that it's profitable. But it's not going to be like, PlayStation say, oh, we'll take a $300 hit just to, like, who are they competing against? They don't even think Microsoft is in like the console business anymore. They don't think of them as a competitor. And what they're terrified of the Switch 2? Like, who? Why? Like, seriously? They're trying to drive their profits up. They're not trying to say, let's make less money. They're looking to make more money. I just don't see it. I don't see the value. They bumped all their console prices up so they can make money off of the consoles. That's where it is. Xbox did the same thing. They're looking for 30% profits. They're not going to give you, they're just not going to give you anything to go buy it. You have to buy it, pay for it. It's going to be fully funded by the consumer. I just don't see it being subsidized. And in both cases. So they'll be at cost, if not, profit right off the bat. So I'm guessing they'll be in the same range. Like, think about how much more power there was in the Series X versus the PS5. They still came out exactly the same cost, $500, same cost. All right, it doesn't matter. Like, the cost differential might be a bit more because they don't want to take any hits. Fine, but I don't see it being like a $500 difference. That's insanity. So that's where I see this. As far as a lower cost option, I think an OEM could do something with that, but they would cut it back to something like the PS6 level performance, right? They could just say, hey, that part of it, we're just going to cut back on the number of CUs, right? That's why they have this scalability with the chiplet design. They can cut it back and say, we're going to make a smaller version of it and sell it to you for less. That's fair. But I don't know how much people want that versus, like, if I gave you an option, it was, $700 versus $800. $800 you get the full power, $700 you get 80% of the power. Are you going to spend the 7 or are you going to spend the 8? I don't know, right? If it was like $400, now it's a big deal. Right now it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense, right? But now you're substantially undercutting, right? So now you're looking at Series S versus Series X. Okay, that might be a possibility, right? But I don't know if they're going to do that. We will see. I think Xbox is going to give you one SKU. It's going to be the Xbox. It's at the mid range of where they are on that, the Magnus APU, and they will then allow OEMs later. I don't know when, but later to say I can scale up and down, and you can go ahead and use that if you want to, right? So, and so we'll see how that plays out. Assuming that continues, I assume it will, but assuming they want to do the OEM thing. You will potentially have that. I'm looking forward to the one where they scale up. I can have even more power, but you can pay more. I'm that consumer. I'm happy to pay more to get more, right?
Yes,
so,
I agree.
but that doesn't mean the average need to do that, right? So it's got to come in at a reasonable price, and so I'm hoping they stay in that $700-800 range, which is still expensive. I get that, but it's where we are today, right? You can get an $800 Series X today. You can get a $750 PS5 Pro today. That is where we are today. That's just unfortunately the way it is, right? Yeah. So if they stay in that range, I think it's not as much of a sticker shock. It still sucks. I would love it to be $400 and $500. That's the reasonable price, but that's not where we are anymore. So you have to kind of expect that that's kind of where it's going to be. I don't want it to be in the 1,000+ range. I think that's ridiculous. So they need to kind of keep it below that, and hopefully they can. But yeah, there's a lot of rumors and a lot of fluff and a lot of I don't know what assumptions they're making that somehow it's going to be that much more expensive. I'm like, where do you get this? I don't understand. But this is kind of where we are. I don't think it's going to be that dramatically different. That's just my opinion, but we will see, right? I don't think it's $1,200 unless the PS6 is $1,100, which I don't think they're going to sell an $1,100 PS6. I just don't think that's going to happen. So I think you're still in that, it's going to be $700-800. Maybe this one is $900. I hope it stays at $800, something in that range. That's still reasonable because that's what the Series X 2 TB is today. That's what they're going to give you, 2 TB. But the current performance levels, I think that's where they're going to have to kind of keep it. And I think that's why they bumped it to 800, is to get you used to, hey, that's kind of where we're going to be. And I think 750 might be where PlayStation 6 is going to be. And they're like telling you, just be used to that. That's what we're going to sell it for. So that would be my guess. But I don't. The $1,200 just blows my mind. Like,
I don't know where they again. And people ran stories on that.
$1,200. Holy crap. I mean, if it comes out at $1,200, that's crazy. That's really crazy. But I don't think it's $1,200. I hope it's not $1,200. That would be a lot of money for a console. So I'm hoping it stays in that range. But yeah, and as far as the 4 times, that is absolute bunk. There's no way it's doing more than a 5090. Are you crazy? That's a $2,500 card. Yep. There's no way it's doing more than a 5090. That's insane. So no, I don't expect it to be that. I expect it to be similar to what we have with the Series X and the PS5. It's going to be a 20-ish% performance delta. That seems reasonable, and that's fine. Right? And again, for average day-to-day gaming, you're really not going to see it. but it's gonna be there. If you do like the magnifying glass, yep, okay, this tree like lines will look better and all that. Yeah, it'll be there, right? But I think for day-to-day gaming, people will not notice. It'll be fine. Both of them are gonna be fantastic boxes. But anyway, that's my rant.
No, I mean, well described rant. But I appreciate the hot take, and I actually hope that you are wrong on one thing. I hope that they do launch with 2 SKUs. I do. I really do hope that they're, instead of the traditional handheld, and it's not really even going to be traditional. I hope that when Xbox does do their handheld, I'd love to see them copy someone else's homework and actually make a Switch-like device that is a cheaper entryway into handheld gaming, right? But also give the gamer the ability to play on their screen by simply just docking it.
Yeah, but the thing is, once you start getting into portables, they're very expensive to make. They just so like the Switch 2, as I was telling everybody when they were like sticker shocked at $450, I'm like, that is a very good deal. That is a very good deal for what you're getting. It's a very good deal. But people didn't want to think that was a good deal, right? They wanted the $300
version. They paid $300 for the last one. That's why.
Exactly, right? And I'm like, yeah. If you try to do this again, it's going to be expensive. Look, we have a $600, right? The $600 version of the ROG Ally, but it looks like people prefer the $1,000 version, right? But we can potentially see that they do that. So is it a viable path? Yes. But I don't know if people will want to gravitate towards that. We'll see. I don't think you're going to get that much of a leap in performance. That's going to be the problem, right? So even the ROG Ally, the normal, the lower tier one, does that really outdo the Series S? Does it do the Series X? No. So are you willing to pay more for that versus getting the new console generation? I don't know. I don't know what the market for that would be, right? So then you're looking at a major cost if you really want to go beyond that. So I don't know. And maybe Kay Santa, you can chime in on like the performance deltas between like the low tier versus the high tier, and if it makes a difference if you wanted to upgrade. And by the way, Series S and X aren't going away, or PS4, 5. They're not going away for a while.
Yep.
No, they're not.
Yep.
No, I don't think they are. But listen, you know what? Actually, Kay, I do want to bring you in and we get your hot take on this, but I got to get to the super chats. There's been a couple of big bombs here, and it's from someone I've never seen in the chat before. So again, he just popped in here. So we had Pioneer drop a very generous $2 super chat. He says PlayStation isn't doing enough for me to take it serious or take it seriously. He's talking about the play. Well, I actually think when he meant the PlayStation Portal. I mean, look, it's the biggest update that console or that handheld has gotten since its launch a couple of years ago, and I do think it's substantial. And I do like the way that Hargeet painted it. Again, for we're enthusiasts, right? And I know there's going to be some people thumbing their nose at this because you might have an MSI Claw, you might have one of the Lenovo handhelds, right? You might have a ROG Ally X, or heck, you might even have an Ally X right now. You might have an Xbox Ally X in your, right now you're using it. So we're enthusiasts, right? So for us, some people are going to thumb their nose at it, but for people who can't afford that, $200 and the subscription, which again, they got to be more forthcoming with that. Like, you can't just buy this device and just expect it to work. It's a paperweight without having the subscription service. So at $200, I think is a good deal. If it's any cheaper, because I do like the Portal, I just don't use it as much as I should have, but it is a solid device. And especially if you're a fan of the DualSense, the controllers, it's a controller cut in half. That's just what it is. And the screen is really nice looking. It's just a nice looking screen. So I do think that this is a step forward. Is it a running sprint forward for Sony? No, it's not. They have a lot of work to do to get even into the same stratosphere as what Microsoft is doing and what Xbox is doing. I'm sorry. They are quite a few steps behind, but this is definitely a good step forward. We have here Marvelous Marvin. So not only, ladies and gentlemen, did he gift 10 double barrel gaming memberships. So Marvin, that is unbelievably generous of you. Thank you so much for hanging out, brother. And once again, thank you for the next $50 super chat, which is, I think, is way too much, dude. That is incredibly generous of you. Thank you so much for the support. He says, excellent live streams and videos, Mr. BoomStick XL and team. Xbox Series X and the future Xbox Magnus will forever rule. Well, I think they're off to a really good start. And I actually think we're going to get a sneak peek of Magnus next year. I like I said, I'm going to continue to bang this drum until I am proven wrong. I do think that at the Game Awards, and again, folks, this is me. I don't have any connections that would even, first of all, I would never even say this if someone told me this on the back end of things. This is just my personal opinion. I think that there's a real solid chance that Xbox could show off what their partnered OEM home console is going to look like at the Game Awards. Now, I don't have that on good authority. That's just me spitballing here. I mean, we did see in 2019 the Series X, and we did see Hellblade 2, and it came, and well, obviously the X came out in 2020. I mean, it literally is probably one of the most shocking moments in Game Awards history, besides Joseph Fares yelling at the microphone the Oscars, which again is just one of those moments you had to be there. But this could actually happen. I think that they are using these devices, meaning the Xbox Ally and the Xbox Ally X, to learn for when they go and they release their own handheld, which I believe there's going to be a handheld released alongside the console. Maybe it won't be a dockable handheld, but they're going to have a handheld. I'm like I said, I know what Hargeet said, and he's a smart man, and he's probably right. But in my heart of hearts, I think there is going to be a pair of devices. I know someone had said earlier, boom, you want another S situation. Listen, what they did with the S and X, they did for reasons. And it's listen, these next consoles are going to be PC hybrids. They're not going to have the same problems that the Series S and X had. They're just not. Even if it's a lesser powerful hybrid, it's still going to be a powerful enough hybrid to run your games. And I don't think because remember, it's going to be a PC hybrid, meaning that when they're making these games, they're making for PC, and you'll be able to play it with no problems. So thank you so much for the very generous 10 gifted subs, as well as the outstanding $50 super chat from Marvelous Marvin. So, brother, that is very kind of you and incredibly generous. Thank you so much for that. Kate Sante, let's bring you in. You're one of our other technical experts, especially when you talk about handhelds. But the next Xbox, this Kepler, L2, leak. He's a prominent AMD leaker. And obviously, Hargeet's breakdown on how it's not going to be 4 times as powerful was brilliant. It really was, and it made sense to me. Now I understand. But I want to get your thoughts on the leaked specs on this thing.
So I will tell you my thoughts that came to mind as I was watching all this stuff. For me, I've always been on the same page as to what all of this is moving towards. I could be wrong, but so far nothing I've said would happen has not happened. Right? Down to the name of the chip. It's called the Magnus. What is that saying? It sounds like it's the magnum opus, right? It is the last chip potentially, or the like how I see this facilitating, like how I see this going in the market is, if you know of a Surface device, you know what Surface does for Microsoft today. That's literally what we are talking about here, right? It's literally what we're talking about here, and it fits so well, right? And honestly, I think it will be a relatively decent device when you see it, right? I've always contended that, much like in the way where Microsoft had to come and show OEMs how to make a Windows machine, because HP was going crazy, Dell was going crazy, they're all just making really ridiculous things, and Microsoft had to come out and create something that was elegant and beautiful and well designed and say, see, this is Windows. Now go off, OEMs. This is Windows, right? And if anybody ever needs to know, here's our Surface line. And that's what you can point to. But what did they do? they made sure they stayed out of the OEM's way. They made their $1,700, $1,600 laptops cost $2,000 because they knew that Dell and HP had other variants that would fulfill that niche. They didn't want to step on the toes of their partners, right? So that device continues to live as like a Microsoft special, right? They make a lot of profit off of it because there's just no subsidization at all, right? They make up a very teeny tiny part of the market, but every time you buy one, they win because they made a profit, right? So even though it may not sell millions and millions and outdo all of their vendors, that's not what they want it to do. They just need it to be the reference design whenever anybody's messing around, right? Oh, Windows sucks. No, it doesn't. Look at the Surface. That's what the Surface is for, right? Similarly, while it looks like they've opened the floodgates on the console side to OEMs, they're building that one, right? Opus with its chiclet design has very high scalability, right? I wouldn't compare it to a PlayStation 6. Yeah, PlayStation 6 also PlayStation also they would all come from the same design house, but I think that the priorities that they're bringing to bear will change exactly what goes to where, right? So as we're talking about, the Microsoft has all these other plans, all these things they're wanting to do, their OEMs in play and all of this. That will drive them to make a scalable chip, because at the end of the day now, whenever they show you footage, they can show you a PC and say, yeah, this is part of our stack, right? They have completely upended what they consider their console platform. PlayStation, on the other hand, has done nothing of the sort, right? They are still in the you buy my games, you play my you buy you play my console, you play my games type situation, right? So although they too will benefit from a lot of these technologies, they're not upending the apple cart. They're not creating this hybrid open platform where you can get all this blah blah blah. Yeah, there are rumors of them trying to, investigate in other platforms and bring them in and all that as well. But to your point, Boomstick, they are 100% going to make you a console. And let's be clear.
Yes.
In the world that consoles exist today and what we define as a console, what it should do, what it should cost. Yeah, either this thing is going to be expensive as a mug or it's not going to be very powerful, because the world we live in today is not making for too much brute forcing. It's not making for too many leaps in technology, because honestly, the rare earth minerals and all that stuff that is used to create some of these products is becoming more and more difficult for life reasons, economic and all of that reasons, right? So it's making what you have far more expensive. Honestly, I'm now looking at other devices from China that we're purchasing and all that. We used to buy hundreds of those things. Now it's very difficult to buy those things, because at the end of the day, not only are tariffs and things plaguing America, but just the cost of those devices have increased exponentially. I wanted to buy a laptop that had a Z Flow Extreme in it, like the Z Flow Extreme, for those who don't know, an Asus device, really monster chip. It was $1,500 2 weeks ago. Could barely find it. It was sold out everywhere, but it was $1,500 to $1,700 entry point. Now it's back on the market. Same exact device, no change whatsoever. Starting price $2,000.
Holy crap!
This happened 2 weeks ago. I'm in the market to buy. I literally bought one. I only found an open box one because that was the only one that was literally on the market. But it was 2 open box. It was kind of grimy. It'd been used. I was like, nah. I'll wait till the new one show up, right? And the new one shows up, and it's increase of $500 between one day and another. And that's just the world we live in, right? Everything has increased, and it will stay that way. Unless something crazy happens to drop prices dramatically, we're finding ourselves in a new normal. And in that new normal, everything is crazy with price and position. So in that world, if PlayStation wants to build a console like you know it today, I would say don't expect too much of an uplift, because it's great to cost $500, but in that world, $500 doesn't move the needle between the PS4, 5, and 6. You know what I'm saying? Unless they're releasing this PS6 in like 2030, in which case they've allowed time for technology to catch up. So now $500 can give you something substantial. But if they're talking 2027, 2028, I don't foresee it being a huge bump if it stays at $5 which is where you want to be if you're a console, right? And I think that's probably why Microsoft is like, you know what? We're going all up and down the stack now. We don't care, right? If you want, our device will have that Magnus chip. It'll be the big dog pit bull. It'll do all the things. If you can't handle it, it'll probably cost you mad cheese. If you can't handle it, here's the Asus variant. Here's this variant. And those will come in
too.
7, 6. They'll come in at a more cromulent price point that normals will probably want to attach themselves to. And of course, it will also not come with all the crazy CUs and everything. It'll be considerably more cut down, right? More, but since those chips scale, it won't lose enough to where you feel like, oh man, it's not something I want, right? You and I will be like, oh hell yeah, give me that Microsoft special. Where's my $2,000? Let's buy that thing today. I'm being ridiculous. Yes.
No, but everybody on this panel
it
would
could
buy
be like
$2,000.
12, 13, like, somewhere like that. It could be somewhere like that, right? And all of us will go, yup, please, here you go. Because at that point, we expect a lot more for our dollar, right? No subsidy.
Be fine with a $2,000 one. Depends on what's in it.
That's right. Exactly.
Depends on what's in it.
Exactly, right? Right. But even though that may sound like gloom and doom for most, which I can agree sounds like gloom and doom, a $2,000 console, what the heck? Because it's not really a console, right? It's a console in only that they've cleaned up some of the PC-ness, right, of the build process. It is basically a PC hybrid it's that dream you wanted when you were 15. Imagine if the console was like the most powerful thing. Yeah, that's what this is, right? That's what this will be. So for us, that'll be awesome. For those who don't care, you buy one that's a bit more cut down. You'll still play your games. You'll still have access to all your stuff. It's a good world. It may not be where we live today, and some people will be a little sad about it. I feel you, but long story short, it won't be bad, right? So I think his synopsis here has a very, very, very good foot in fact, right? Obviously, as we know with Microsoft and with most of these things, so much changes on the ground between the moment that they talk about it and to the moment the thing comes out. So it could come out and they could all be completely different. We could all be back to the same you buy my boxing thing. I mean, highly doubtful, highly doubtful. But hey, who knows, right? But so far, this is seemingly going in a very interesting direction. I'm excited to see where it turns out.
Real quick before we get us on out of here, because we're at the end of the show, folks. We're at the 90-minute mark. I do want to just kind of ask a question to Kay. You mentioned the Surface, right? Mm-hmm. So as we know, a Surface laptop is expensive, and they're really good.
Yes.
They're really high quality stuff, which is what this Xbox Magnus is probably going to be. It's going to be a high-end console / PC hybrid. It's going to be expensive. It could be $800, like Hargeet said. He doesn't think it's going to be $1,000, and neither do I. I think it's going to be around the 800 mark, but we'll see. And I know that there's going to be some pushback where people say, "Well, what about the ROG? It's $1,000." There's a lot of difference there. You're talking about a handheld that's got to shrink everything down.
Different categories, yes.
Yeah, it's got a screen.
You don't have to worry about screens and batteries and power profiles. It's a different paradigm, different engineering challenges.
Yeah. So where I do want to kind of just turn and ask the question is, so for the people in the room who want the high-end experience, the premium curated experience, they'll be able to buy this $800 box. But this is where the OEMs come into play. And you said something that was very interesting. I want you to kind of clarify about what you would lose on a Alienware model versus the Microsoft designed and produced one.
Yeah. So, and this, funny enough, this is a very old lesson that you learned way back when, if you were watching like Dealer Gaming and the rest of them back in the day. He used to expound on that many times.
Yeah, he did.
And it bears repeating here. CPU complexity can't scale. GPUs can, right? And because of that, if you understand that fully, you understand how and why the series consoles were manufactured the way they were, right? If you look at it, the Series S is very close to the Series X in CPU like art, a CPU style. It's just a few clocks lower because they want to be able to make those complex worlds and it stays the same. You can't scale complexity in that way. What you can scale is GPU definition and how grand things can get. You can dial it up or you can dial it back, right? But the complexity and the intelligence either is there or is not, right? So in that world, that's why they engineer everything as closely and as intelligently as they do, so that you can save some money because you don't need all those CUs. You don't need to put the shadows to ultra. You don't need to be playing Cyberpunk on a handheld at like 80 frames per second, because maybe 60 will do. Right. And in so doing, clawing it back to about 60 instead of 80, you're clawing back some CUs, which costs a lot of money, right? And how these chips are made, they don't make them to purpose exactly, right? They make them to and I'll use like a Strix Halo example, like one of the greatest chips that are out there on AMD side. They say, okay, we're making a Strix Halo chip, and they make 10 of them, and out of all 10, right, and the biggest top dog Strix Halo is called the 395 plus, right? Out of all 10, you'll get maybe 8 395 pluses, right? And then the 2 will be 385 pluses because they won't hit that 95 benchmark. And those 80s will cost you, the consumer, much less because they have less CUs. They don't work as well. But they're not considered quote unquote defaults or faults. They're just the lesser ones with lesser CUs, right? So that's where you get your where you get your Asus backed, maybe lesser tier. Yeah, it may not have as many crazy GPU horsepower to do so much, but where it matters, it'll be the same as you want, and it won't be 1200. Maybe it'll be 7.
Okay.
You know.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad I asked the question, and I'm glad you broke it down. So thank you so much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us here on Primetime Gaming. Tomorrow, I am rolling solo for the 60-minute episode of X Vlog Live. Unfortunately, C Money is going to be stuck at work, so I'm looking for a co-host. I have a topic. It is an original topic. I don't want to say what it is because it's going to give it all away, but we'll be going live at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll spend 60 minutes talking about it. It's going to be the one topic, but it's a really, really well thought out, written topic, and I do think it's going to have a lot of ramifications on what we are going to say. So, of course, tomorrow, 12 p.m., don't forget XVlog Live. Of course, Friday morning, ladies and gentlemen, we're giving away $300 worth of digital gift cards thanks to, well, we're celebrating Mrs. Boom's birthday bash. She had her birthday last week. Unfortunately, she was sick as a dog over the weekend. When, you know, who gets a birthday on Saturday? Doesn't happen very often. And hers was Saturday, and she was so sick. Oh my God, I felt so bad for her. She's kind of on the mend, so we're going to celebrate her this Saturday. And Friday evening, ladies and gentlemen, I am doing a very special impromptu podcast with my brother Neo Mental, Jay the Destroyer, and yes, and
It's
Jay the
time.
Retro Gamer. I think it's going to be either 6 or 7 that we're going to have. We're going to be okay. So this is normally the group that we get together for our game of the year. Well, there's been so much industry change, and these are all old school cats. We're going to be breaking down whether or not the change has been for the better or for the worse. We have a couple of topics we're going to get into, but we're going to be talking about the industry as whole, and we're going to be talking about some of the things that we did when we were younger, when it was an actual console war with Genesis and Nintendo. Again, the guys were, I'm in a DM with them, and they're like, listen, there's so much going on. We want to talk. Boom, can we do a podcast? And I said, okay, yeah, let's do one. So I think it's going to be either 6 or 7 p.m. I'll advertise it, but it's going to be my brother Neo Mental and my 2 best friends that I had growing up. And it's, again, this is the same crew that we get together once a year. And again, Casante enjoys that because, you know, that's
my favorite show of the year, man. I love that. It's like the old graybeards come in and they discuss the year. It's amazing. I love it.
So yeah, we're gonna be breaking down gaming as a whole, our thoughts, our theories, where Xbox is going, where PlayStation is going, and where Nintendo is. because they were going somewhere. They got there. It's in the Switch 2. But we're going to be breaking down the 3 platforms and what the future holds for them and whether or not we like what they're doing. It's going to be a very fun and interesting 90-plus minute show. And again, it's an extra show for the week. So, yep, those are the next 3 shows. A big thank you to all of the very generous super chats and gifted subs today. We had 15 gifted subs, thanks to Spartan661 as well as Marvelous Marvin. And Mrs. Boom and I cannot say thank you enough for supporting the channel, because, again, it does allow for us to take the monies that we get here and then use it for giveaways. And, of course, this Friday morning, we're giving away $300 worth of gift cards, 2 $50 Xbox gift cards, and 8 $25 gift cards will be up for grabs, ladies and gentlemen, for a total of $300. And, again, we can't do any of that without the generosity of this community. But Hargeet China, let's sell the brand. I want to sell the book called Emergence, folks. And if you didn't know, Hargeet wrote a book last year. And I don't know how many authors you know, but I know one, and he's on this panel. And again, if you like sci-fi, and I think right now sci-fi is, the hip thing to talk about because of The Outer Worlds 2, you're probably going to like Emergence as well. Besides Hargeet being on a lot of other people's podcasts, he has his own YouTube channel. So the brand, brother, where can people subscribe? And more importantly, check out your book.
Sure. My channel is Hargeet71 on YouTube. Check that out. And shop.china.us if you want to pick up my book. And I assume C Money will be available. We'll See Money Doodle on Friday. So we'll be on at 8-ish p.m. US Eastern Time to go over how Xbox is, of course, dead.
Yeah. Back from the Dead, part 17. So appreciate you being here, brother. Oh, there he is. There's the man. Xbox is dead. Paris Lily. As a matter of fact, he actually said, he was in the chat on Tuesday because Umbra was saying something about, them bringing back the program where you can pay off the console. And Hargeet,
Xbox All Access?
Yeah, All Access. And then, of course, he jumps in and says, if you broke bots can't afford it, there's no payment plan or something like that. He's being very, very, very scandalous in the chat. We were all laughing. It was fun. It was not meant for being serious, but Paris Lily really taking that bad guy arc and running rampant with it. It's been fun to watch. Let's just say that. But Asante, let's sell the brand of the Gaming Circle podcast. 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturday mornings, where you and Everborn and occasionally a guest talk about the latest and greatest. Sell the brand, brother. Where can people subscribe? And more importantly, follow you on social media.
So first, this time I'll actually talk about something we did last week because I'm very proud of it. I got a chance to interview a short little interview that I did with the dev team that's doing a game that I'm super excited about called, now here's the dev team. She Was Such a Good Horse. Wow. That's the name of the dev team. Yes. The dev team is called She Was Such a Good Horse. They call themselves the Good Horse team, but that's the full name of the team. And the game they're making is called Into the Unwell. Think of Ren and Stimpy.
Looks really good.
Like for the 2000s, right? Weird, foul-mouthed, like cartoons in a fever dream where pizzas come after you and kill you by throwing them pieces of themselves at you. Yes,
that sounds wicked.
It's that kind of a game. Like, come check it out. We had a cool interview with them. They showed some of the game. It's coming out in 2026, but they were really generous with their time. So yes, it's on GCP channel. I also put 30 minutes of it into the show, so people got a chance to check it out as well. But yeah, come check us out. We're doing the wrap around now where there's a bunch of indie games and cool stuff that we kind of are playing in between the really big stuff. So I think like next week we're gonna be talking about Neon Inferno, which is this really cool Neo Geo kind of inspired thing that's also going around. But yeah, come check us out. We have a lot of cool little indie things that we want to put on people's radar. So.
Very nice, brother. Well, listen, we're looking forward to it. That I got a chance to see a little bit of that game. It looks interesting, and yes, very Ren and Stimpy like. So if you like that 90s kind of a violent cartoon, You're probably going to dig this as well. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here this evening. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out. We had over 600 people watching live. We definitely appreciate it. And of course, I got to get back to the Outer Worlds too, because now I'm in it. And I just not the good perks, the bad perks are killing me. They are killing me because I cannot say no. It is unbelievable, and some of them are. This game is incredible. I could gush for another 10, 15 minutes on it. Please try. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But I think that there's a lot here. This might be Obsidian's best work yet, in my opinion. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here. A big thank you once again to all of the super chats, channel member chats, as well as the gifted subs. Again, Mrs. Boom and I do truly appreciate the generosity. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends.